There we go. Ah, Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy winter solstice. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. All these ways that we celebrate the light. All these beautiful ways we celebrate the light. It has been the most interesting week for me putting together this talk. Between winter storm after winter storm, which I know you've had there in Lake Tahoe, and no power and no internet and adverse road conditions and changing travel plans. The message that seemed louder than any other was surrender. Just surrender, not my will, but thy will be done. I let go and I let God, and I'm not in control. And it's a relief. It's actually a relief when you fully let go. It's a deep peace. You know, this time of year we celebrate in all these beautiful ways what is holy. In various traditions, we celebrate what is holy. And it is a really holy thing when we truly let go of trying to control anything. When we realize with utter humility the power that Mother Earth has, her storms and her tornadoes and her weather that leave us in awe and humbled and also turn us within. You know, the celebration of the winter solstice, which was celebrated thousands of years before Christ, is a celebration of the living being, the sentient being that our Mother Earth is. And it's a celebration of her relationship with the sun, with her star, and our relationship with the sun, our star, right? And it's interesting that 2,000 years ago, the Earth's orbit was a little different, and the winter solstice fell on December 25th. So it is a time that we surrender to the darkness, to the shortest day and the longest night, which I think, it's the day after tomorrow, on the 21st. And in a way, I was thinking how appropriate that the power went out this week. I think it went out for you in Tahoe, for many of you. It went out for us in Mount Shasta. And it felt like, you know, it was appropriate because it was a way that we could be with the darkness more intimately, that we could light our own candles and have the entertainment turned off for us. And in humble awe, you know, feel the peace that comes with surrender, with just letting go of feeling like we're in control. I spent an evening, you know, like this with no power and just a couple candles, and I was all bundled up with many layers of clothes and blankets. And I just felt blessed, actually. I felt like this is meant to be a time of prayer and meditation. And I really felt a deeper peace in everything being turned off, you know, and that snowy winter quiet where everything is hushed. You know, the winter solstice has long been a time of, it's been celebrated as a time where we go within our homes and we go within ourselves. And we're just taking in all that we've been through, you know, and that all that has passed in this year that's coming to a close soon. And when you think of it, all of nature, you know, all of nature, all of the animal kingdom, they know that this is a time of hibernation and they know that's necessary. They know it's time to rest, you know, our tired limbs and our burdened minds, and they just go into that time. Even the buds, you know, I love the way the buds form in fall, and then they just sit there on the branches in these tight little buds, and they just wait until spring. And it's a time of inner growth and inner focus. There is this benevolent power, this great mystery that this earth is part of. And she seems to find ways to shake us up, you know, especially in these last 20 months, you know, whether it's a virus or fires or snowstorms or turning off the unnatural light, so that we take some time in the sacred darkness of the season, so that we take some time away from distractions and we just be with ourselves. In the Native American tradition, they celebrate the winter solstice with stories. They tell stories about coyote and stories about heroes and stories of the animals. And they share the knowledge that's been passed down from their ancestors. And of course, in Christianity, we have the story of the birth of Jesus. And I'm very excited because this Friday, we're going to have a very special service where we all, as a community, our community of Unity at the Lake, we are going to tell the Christmas story in our Christmas Eve candle lighting service. It's at 7 p.m. this Friday, so I hope you'll come. But in our metaphysical tradition of unity, we celebrate Jesus as an enlightened master who demonstrated, who mirrored for us our own divine potential, our own divine nature. And he taught that it is the kingdom of heaven within, that still place, that hushed place that is ours to discover. And when I think of Jesus, he often went into the wilderness. There's all these stories of him going out into nature and just taking time away from the world and away from all distractions to meditate, to commune, to connect, to be fully merged in the light of his being, which is the same light in all of our beings. And so, can we sit in the outer darkness long enough to more fully feel that inner light? That is what he was always pointing to, the kingdom of heaven within, the light within. All of these holy day traditions, there are many. Actually, at this time of year, the winter solstice, the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah, and Christmas, they all place great value on light, the inner light of consciousness, and the outer light, the sun's light. All of life depends on light. All of life responds to light. We are entwined with the earth cycles of light and dark. And we notice it, of course, much more when the power gets turned off, how entwined we are with the earth and the natural light. So I would like to, in the spirit of the Native American tradition, share some stories today that explore this inner light that all of us have, that we humans have. I recently read a true story about two women who met in the most unusual way, and they had such an impact on each other's life. These two women lived in nearby towns in Canada, in northern Canada, up there where Linda is. And one night during a fierce winter storm, the wind was howling, the snow was blowing, and they were both forced to leave their homes and venture out into the dark and into the blizzard. And one of them had to take her pregnant daughter to the hospital. She was about to give birth. And the other one was driving to take care of her very ill father. And so they made their way along the same road in opposite directions. They were driving along in opposite directions through hurricane winds and pelting snow. And suddenly, each was stopped on opposite sides of a huge fallen tree in the road that had completely blocked the road. There was just no way around it. And so they got out of their cars, and it just took them only a few minutes out in that blizzard to talk, to share their stories, and to exchange car keys. And they set forth in each other's cars to complete their journeys. So they took the other's car, and they turned around, and they went in the direction they needed to go. And I just love this story. It amazes me because it feels so divinely appointed, and it feels like Spirit set it up and made it possible for both of these women, if they worked together, if they trusted each other, and if they got creative and surrendered to the moment of what life was presenting and let Spirit guide them. I think about, how we are all going through a lot these days and how much we need each other. I feel like we need each other more than ever. And even though maybe we can't connect in all the ways we have been, we need to find ways to stay connected. It's so important. Mother Teresa says we belong to each other, that we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We might forget it sometimes, but it's true. It's true. And life, itself has this way of, it has a myriad of ways that snap us out of our routine. And so, and, and through that, we discover more about ourselves and about each other, and we dig deeper. The longer version of that quote from Mother Teresa says, "Today, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. That man, that woman, that child is my brother or my sister. We're each other's good Samaritan." And when I think of the teachings of Jesus, I think he was asking us to remember this again and again, encouraging us to love our neighbor and be a good Samaritan. My neighbor is my landlord. He's the only neighbor anywhere around. And normally we don't hang out. You know, I've lived here in this little home for 2 years, and we have a friendly rapport, but you know, we just chat in passing. We've never really hung out. But on Wednesday of this week, it was snowing hard, and there was about 3 feet at least, and it was almost dark, and the power went out. And he was just finishing up plowing our driveway, and he came by and he said, you know, that I was welcome to come over and sit by the wood stove, because he has wood stove heat, and I only have electric heat. And so it just felt like such goodwill, just effortless goodwill and kindness, and it just really touched my heart, you know, because my neighbor and I were quite different. We have very different lifestyles and politics, but it just didn't matter in that snowstorm when the power went out, you know. And so I believe Jesus and all the spiritual masters would say, let's just learn to always be this way, to forget our differences and take care of each other. So to finish the story, the power came back on just as I was about to go over and have a fireside chat with my neighbor. And I was almost sorry, you know, because I was looking forward to it. So Christmas is a time that we remember love. We remember, as Linda beautifully said, that we are loved and to love one another. It's a time of kindness. It seems to be a time of greater goodwill, just naturally seems to come forth, and a time of generosity. I remember as a little girl, Christmas was so incredible. I was living in Baltimore, and I had a great grandmother, a grandmother, and a mother that all doted on me. And so it just felt like a time when love got turned up. Love really got turned up. And so it's a time now too that we honor our family. We remember those that are no longer with us, and we remember our ancestors. It's like we're all part of this stream of life, and the wisdom that our ancestors gained through their own challenging times, you know, get passed on to us, you know, and then we carry that. We grow in our own wisdom, and we carry that and pass that on to our children and our grandchildren and our community and our world. So I know for so many, I've done more counseling in the last 20 months, I think, than I have in the last 20 years. And I know it's not been easy this last year or this last 20 months. And I really bear witness that we've all had to dig so deep in these times. And I imagine that, you know, you might feel a little tired, a little exhausted, and you have a desire to just rest from it all. And I'd like to just say, you know, do that. Just rest. Let this time of hibernation for the natural world be a time for us too, to just rest and renew and take care of ourselves. You know, it's what the sacred season of darkness is for. The sacred darkness is for. It's supposed to be a time of rest. One of my friends and spiritual teachers, Gangaji, used to say, rest is a holy word. You know, that's why we have the Sabbath. You know, it's rest is a kind of surrender. It's just letting go. It's taking the pressure off ourselves, that we don't have to do it all. In fact, we don't have to do anything. We can let go and let God. It's funny, when the lights went out, and I was bundled up, you know, sitting in the silence with the candles burning, I felt this quiet joy inside. I really did. I just felt, like I said, that it was a gift, that, you know, everything was turned off, you know. I was going to speak in part on joy today, and the Sanskrit word for joy is mudita, And it's kind of a more specific kind of joy. Mudita means joy that is filled with peace and contentment. It's not so much excited, it's peace and contentment, that kind of joy. It's like a joyful goodwill. And it's that kind of joy that makes us rejoice in our own well-being and in everyone else's well-being. We want all beings to be happy, and we rejoice in their happiness. And it's important that we don't mistakenly believe that it's disloyal to the suffering of the world to honor the happiness we've been given. That beautiful scripture that Alison read from the Buddha says, live in joy and peace, even among the troubled. We don't need to feel guilty for our inner peace and joy. In fact, our world so very much needs our joy. It needs our joy. So I have another powerful, inspiring story about a man who had every reason to be bitter and decide there was no joy left in life. And yet he chose, and he continues to choose, to find joy in his everyday life. You might have seen the story on 60 Minutes of Anthony Ray Hinton. Anthony spent 30 years on death row for a crime he didn't commit. And in fact, he was working in a locked factory at the time of the crime that he was being accused of. And the police told him he would be going to jail because he was Black. And so his time in jail was spent in solitary confinement. He was only allowed out 1 hour a day. But even so, Anthony quickly became a friend and a counselor to the other inmates, and even the guards, even the death row guards. And many of them begged Anthony's attorney, please get him out of here. He's innocent. So finally, a unanimous Supreme Court ruling ordered his release, and he was able to go free. But in this 60 Minutes interview, he was asked if he was angry at the people who put him in jail. And he responded that he forgave them. He forgave them all. And the interviewer pressed him. He said, they took 30 years of your life. How can you not be angry? And he said, if I was angry and unforgiving, they will have taken the rest of my life. He wants to cherish life, and he wants to find wonder with the time he has left. He was talking about how people run to get out of the rain, and he couldn't wait to run to get into the rain and just get soaked by it and just feel the joy of that. So since he's been out now, he wrote a book entitled The Sun Does Shine. I love that. The Sun Does Shine. Perfect solstice title. The world didn't give you your joy, he says, and the world can't take it away. You can let people come into your life and destroy it, but I refuse to let anyone take my joy. I wake up in the morning and I don't need anyone to make me laugh. I'm going to laugh on my own because I've been blessed to see another day. And when you're blessed to see another day, that should automatically give you joy. I find this man so inspiring, just watching him, and I want to get his book. I've just only read excerpts of it. But he's such an example of cherishing life and reminding us that even in the face of such immense hardship and even injustice, that suffering is not enough. Thich Nhat Hanh says that too. He says, suffering is not enough. Yes, there's suffering in this world, but it's not enough. There's also joy to be found. And we can place our attention on what is good and what there is to be grateful for, and not miss the simple wonders of this now moment and of this day. So I love these powerful stories. They help us understand ourselves, and they have teachings often that help us surrender, help us forgive, help us not give up, help us keep the faith and keep the hope alive. So the last story I want to share is I want to share about St. Francis. I'm sure you probably know his story, especially if you saw the movie Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. It's just one of my favorite all-time films. But St. Francis had a profound awakening through his communion with nature. And then he became a monk, and he further awakened through the teachings and the life of Jesus. So for me, he's someone who relates to both, who really relates to the winter solstice and the natural world, and also to to Christmas and to the birth of Christ and the birth of Christ within his own being. So St. Francis in his young adulthood was just a fairly ordinary guy. He liked to party with his friends. But then he was called to go to war. They all went to war, all the young men. And in the war, he saw just death and tremendous suffering and pain. And it had a huge effect on him. He was a sensitive being. And he was captured and put into prison, and he was just deeply traumatized by all of it. He went into kind of a traumatic state of mind. And he was finally sent home for ransom. He was sent back to his father's home. And when he got home, he had no interest in the war. He had no interest in worldly life whatsoever. And he just started spending all his days in nature. And it led to a profound spiritual awakening. But people thought he was crazy because he was communing with the birds, and he was communing with the other animals, and he adored the flowers, and he spoke to the sun as brother sun, and the moon as sister moon. And he felt one with the natural world, and he found God in all the creatures. And so, he healed and had this spiritual awakening, excuse me, through his connection with nature. So I'd like to read one of his writings, because he wrote this beautiful writing called The Canticle to the Sun, the S-U-N, sun. And I feel like it just is the perfect thing for both the winter solstice, where the sun is going to start growing in light 2 days from now, and also Christmas, the sun that Jesus was, the Son of God and the son and daughter of God that we all are. So this is the Canticle to the Sun. All praise be yours, my Lord, through all that you have made. And first, my Lord, brother, sun, who brings the day, and light you give to us through him. How beautiful is he, brother sun, how radiant in his splendor. Of you most high, he bears the likeness. And all praise be yours, my Lord, through sister moon and her stars. In the heavens you have made them bright and precious and beautiful. Be praised, my Lord, through brother wind and air and clouds and storms and all the weather through which you give your creatures sustenance. Be praised, my Lord, through sister water. She is very useful and humble and precious and pure. Be praised, my Lord, through brother fire, through whom you brighten the night. He is beautiful and cheerful and powerful and strong. Be praised, my Lord, through our sister, Mother Earth, who feeds us and rules us and produces various fruits with colored flowers and herbs. Be praised, my Lord, through those who forgive for love of you, through those who endure sickness and trial. Happy those who endure in peace, for they will be crowned. This is such a beautiful, beautiful writing. Francis loved nature, and he celebrated the celestial sun and also the birth of Jesus, a different kind of son of God. And to me, it feels appropriate to compare Jesus's life to our celestial sun, because he brought so much light into this world, and he reminded us that we have that light within us, the kingdom of heaven within, and that we can do these things and greater things by fanning the flame of the light within, in the stillness, in our prayer life, in our meditations. So in closing, let us be grateful for the moments that the mother, father of all that is, turns off the lights for a bit, so that we have a break from the world and we get into the deeper stillness and all the distractions. And we just do something simple like light a candle and just be in the sacred darkness and in the sacredness of our being. And just feel how lovely it feels actually to let go of thinking we're in control and just surrender that thy will be done. I'll close with my favorite poem from Saint Teresa of Avila. Christ has no body now on earth but yours, no hands but yours, no feet but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks compassion on the world. Yours are the feet with which he goes about doing good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all people now. May we each remember the divine truth of who we are, and let love and peace and hope and joy grow in our hearts in this holy season. We were made for these times, you know. The light within will guide us. The light within will guide us. Thank you all. I love you all. Merry Christmas.